Hello, everybody. It is your professor, Rocco, you boy, coming at you again with another Age of Sigmar video. In this 101 class, we're going to be going over what is up with all these FAQs everyone keeps talking about. This mega FAQ drop Games Workshop did. Well, for all the new people, these are the frequently asked questions and changes to all the battle tomes and supplements that happen because Games Workshop loves, and I mean loves, to print books on paper where the ink isn't even dry yet when the book goes out of date. So, rules, of course, get play tested, things get changed, and you're like, cool, we're going to print this and go. And then it comes out to the big Johnny Q public out there, and they're like, oh, well, this thing isn't worded this way, so we can just abuse this, or we can find a way to poke a hole through it, or like, hey, does this mean this? And Games Workshop goes, ah, my plan foiled. It was so perfect. And they release these. So, without further ado, this is actually the article about the Mega FAQ drop, where they address all the old books for the current third edition of Age of Sigmar, because they are all still second edition books. The first two books were announced at the time of this recording to be Auric Warclans and Stormcast Eternal, surprising nobody, because those are the two factions in the Dominion box, and what will eventually be our starter box for the edition. But that means we have 20 some odd other armies to update. Plus, we have to have rules in the meantime until the new battle tomes come out. So, what we do is we go to the Warhammer community website as seen here. You can see the date for when I showed up with recording this is actually day ahead. We go to the FAQ and downloads, FAQs. We would select Age of Sigmar, but because we are the superior gaming system and alphabetically in order, um, we're the first one here. And this is where we go for all the different battle tomes here. Scrolling real low, they got everybody. They've got the different supplements. They've got all the Broken Realms stuff. Wrath of the Everchosen. Anything that still has rules that are still used in this edition will be here. It also has apparently all the Underworld stuff too, and also my favorite, the base sizes, so I know when I'm doing conversions what the hell is going on. And they keep the older stuff too if you want to look at them. But we are going to focus today on a certain faction because I am a dirty Sea Elf player for over the last year. Hi, my name is Rocco. I have a problem. I play Idoneth Deepkin, and it goes very well. But I need to see what my army's looking like here, because our battle tome is actually, gosh, probably like tail end of first edition. So we got some updates we need. So let's go on to this and go through the mind of a tournament player. Looking at my book. All right. I don't know why I had it up as a separate thing too. We're gonna up this to 200% for those of us that can't see well. I know I'm half blind, so this will be nice. This goes over the basics. Hey, what happened? There's a series of questions and answers. So this has the old stuff with the new stuff, because until we get a new book, some of the older questions still need to be answered. So we can start left column, right column. So Forgotten Nightmare states that missile weapons can only be used to target a Deepkin unit with this battle trait if it is the closest visible enemy unit. Can I ignore this restriction if the attacking unit has an ability that allows it to target a unit that is not visible? Well, Sentinels from the Lumineth Realm Lords that are still loyal to Daddy Techless, the horrible deadbeat piece of... The answer is no. You cannot ignore my rule because you don't need line of sight. Because we are the superior elves. The Iron Rock Royal Council. This was what is now going to be a narrative battalion from the War Scroll battalions. That was an older question. This is an older question with the does this trait apply after your general is slain? Yes, it does, because command traits are picked at army creation. So even if your general dies, you still get all the buffs as you would. Unless they come directly from your general's model. In that case, they're dead. Dormant energies on the new Eidolon of Mathlin War Scroll. There's a question asked there. Let's see. Sands of Infinity. Again, another artifact update from before. Now here's a big one here. Can we provide a list of war scrolls that have mounts in the battle tome? Because most of the stuff in this battle tome is on a mount, but there was never a list. It was never listed on the war scrolls because they weren't done at that point. Because this is a first edition battle tome. All those kinds of things weren't standardized, so it was just assumed, hey, yeah, the dude's riding the shark is a mount, because the Idoneth Deepkin have a sub-faction where mounts get to reroll wound rolls of 1. But you know what would happen is at tournaments and events, and some of those nerds, you know who they are. None of my students would ever be this way, but you know who they are, where they're like, well, actually, Volturnos' Deep Mare isn't listed as a mount, so you don't get a whole sub-faction's rule. So, Games Workshop, from the outcry of people doing that, have made a list of mounts in the Battle Tome. So that is Volturnos' Deep Mare, the normal Killian King's Deep Mare, the Sharks, the Alapex is there, Shelly Baby Girl, the Leviathan, and then both flavors of Eel Rider, the Morsar Guard, the offensive eels, and the Ishlean Guard, the defensive eels. So, alright, cool. That is actually a buff, believe it or not, so that can get stopped asked at different tournaments, because people will do that. And then they're like, okay, here's the, it's not rules changes, it's updating the verbiage and the words here, using the correct jargon, the trade speak of it all, because we have a new edition, they have new ways of saying the same thing as before, but hopefully it's in a cleaner style. That's up to the eye of the beholder, but here we are. One of our rules, which allowed us to fight at the start of the combat phase, is now in the strikes first effect rule, which is great. They've standardized this. Love the change. Getting rid of spare headers and stuff. It's whatever. Artifacts of power, sure. The Ankusha Spur artifact gets a little update there. Great. Cloud of Midnight, the artifact every Deepkin player took, especially if it was the only one they could take, because it allowed you to mess with shooting armies. The whole idea before was you would put it on your hero and move them up so they would be the closest thing to get shot at by your opponent. And in their shooting phase, you would activate the Cloud of Midnight, you would smash it down, the ink would go around you, and your hero couldn't be targeted. But we have that rule before where you have to shoot the nearest thing you see. So this FAQ is a nerf because it stops that combo. Because now the Cloud of Midnight literally just protects your hero, and they are ignored when determining the closest Deepkin model for purposes of the Forgotten Nightmares battle trait. So we no longer can turn off a full battle round of shooting from our opponents. Alright, so we went from an S plus to an A? I'll take it. I guess that Cloud of Midnight, it's been around for a while like that, so I understand the change here. Lore of the Deeps, again, we're just deleting extra text and headers. Don't actually cross this out in your book. That'd be weird. But, you know, it's just, hey, we're updating it with this new stuff, which is the includes unique units only for Idoneth Deepkin Wizards. That's fine. That works. The Aether Sea. Uh-oh, my Gloomtide shipwreck's getting touched. Hopefully not like the Cloud of Midnight, but we'll see what's up. And this Morphan War Scroll Battalion was actually an old FAQ because it was weird where they said in the book you could have extra units of thralls, an extra unit of thralls, but not up to the reavers, which, again, sometimes the fixes need to happen. And then we get to the Alliance of Wood and Sea, which was another thing where you could bring Sylvaneth as, gosh, it was probably like half your army, depending on like when the points were. Like for the individual units, like how many points you could get out of it. It was a cool little narrative battalion. You know, it's gonna stay in narrative play. And then Volturnos here, Supreme Lord of the Tides, the High King himself, gets an update to his command ability, which is when you use this command ability, if a friendly Volturnos is on the battlefield, and the High Tide ability, the one where we always fight first, or always strikes first now because we're standard, is on for the battle round. That's when you pop it. And this also goes in the hero phase because there's another FAQ from another thing that says, hey, if you don't have a thing that says when they pop it, it has to be in the hero phase. Which is weird they didn't put that directly into this FAQ, but you know, they think we're smarter than we are and we're gonna read all the stuff. I only read it by accident, so here we are. So now I can pick 3 different Idoneth Deepkin units, all the way within 18 of the friendly Volturnos, and add 1 to the attacks characteristics to melee weapons until the next hero phase there. Why this is important: before you were able to stack them, and new rules you can't. But I'm gonna go to Volturnos' old, well, I guess current, war scroll here. Supreme Lord of the Tides. You can use this commanded ability if Volturnos is your general. Hey, his name is spelt wrong. That is also an FAQ here. His name is spelt wrong in the command ability because there's an extra Volturnos. Volturnos. Huh. So technically this never worked, but hey, here we are learning new things. You know, we lost you had to be the general. So now he can go into like a flip tide list, which in Idoneth Deepkin was when you'd have our foot mage as the general, where they could manipulate the order of these high tides and like when the stuff happens. So now you've got more flexibility. It's not as good per se, but now you get more places to use it, more builds to use it in. So it's kind of a side grade because now you can put it on things you never even planned on having. And to be fair, giving 3 different friendly Deepkin units an extra attack on, say, the second battle round instead of the third, when we can't survive till battle round 3 now because of we can't shut off the shooting, Deepkin seem like they're still in a good spot. And then we've got 2 here for the Namarti Thralls and Namarti Reavers with their icon bearer on their unit champion because that just had to be cleared up before. Cool, now go to my beloved Gloomtide shipwreck. Alright, so after setup, setup. After territories are determined, you can use this feature. Okay, it's wholly set up in our territory now instead of before where it was you just put it down. Because there was a time and a place in another FAQ where you put it down before sides were picked, then it was after sides were picked, and now this is just the new thing. Also, looking at this, the feature consists of 2 scenery pieces, where you can have them touching, or you can set them up as 2 separate things. So this means you only get 1 ship box. Before, you could have 2 full shipwrecks, front and a half, push them together to be a solid ship. And then have 2 of them. You'd use it for blocking movement and shenanigans and stuff, and blocking people in their deployment zones. And now you can't do that. Now it is 1 ship in 2 halves, and fun fact for my IRL Deepkin here, my IRL IDK even, in real life, I only actually own 1 ship, so I don't mind this at all. And if I had to, the other ship would be part of my scenery board and a little diorama I'd make when I'd bring to tournaments to show off my awesome Deepkin. So, alright. Defensible. Okay, this is in place of before where we would have a 6-up ward save, where now it is you can garrison the ship up to 5 models if it's a half. If you put the 2 ships together, you can have up to 10 Deepkin models with a wounds characteristic of 5 or less that do not have mounts. So what does all this mean? Well, now we know what units have mounts and what don't, so that's cool. But this means, off the top of my head, I will probably never have a single Gloomtide shipwreck. So in my games of 3.0 so far, what I've seen is, you know, on my opponent's charge phase, they're going to move up a monster in range of both of my shipwrecks. They're going to destroy one, then on my turn, when they do their monstrous whatever, they're going to destroy the other. So my shipwreck is just dead anyway when I was putting it in the middle of the board. But I want to keep them around as long as possible. So I'm going to keep them separate. And also, if I can garrison this, I could think about what kind of foot hero, because a lot of them are like 5 wounds. What kind of foot hero am I putting in there? Because when you garrison something in a defensible terrain feature, what happens is you use the feature itself, and the ships are huge, to broadcast auras. Off the top of my head, we've got a couple of examples here. 5 wound hero, Lotan, Warden of the Soul Ledgers. Yeah, that's right, our friendly guy with the octopus that no one ever took. He actually has the ability there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The Catalog of Souls, where add 1 to bravery for Deepkin units that are wholly within 12 of this model. If we're in the shipwreck, that means wholly within 12 of the ship, and that's huge. Because it's like the size of a turtle, which is awesome for broadcasting its own defensive aura. And also reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Namarta units. Now, a lot of abilities in the game that just gave you the ability to reroll hit rolls of 1 are gone. This is one of the ones that are still there. And Blotan, I think, is like 70 points, maybe. I haven't looked at him in that long. And we also got a 5-up ward save. And then there's a spicy option, the Isharan Soul Scryer. So we're a priest, which is great. And Deepkin don't have traditional prayers. This is why we need the new book. We have rituals that go off where, if they go off, we can like stop our opponent from being able to fly, stop them from getting the benefits of cover, and then there's a buff to the Eidolons that where we heal them and they reroll the hit rolls. I believe in melee, because I've only ever used it with the melee Eidolon. So again, we're in a whole new world of new things in 3rd edition. Now, normally, the Soul Scryer would be off the board, deep striking in 2 units. We get a whole ambush thing. That's great. The Finder of Ways ability here. It's this paragraph. Now, we're going to politely ignore it. So, we're going to look at the Seeker of Souls here, because this is the spicy bit. At the start of your charge phase, you pick 1 enemy unit within 24 inches of this model that is visible to them. If you do so, you must add 3 to charge rolls for friendly Deepkin units that are within 12 inches of the enemy unit. So that will speak to, hey, if you're in charge range to charge this unit, you gotta charge them, but you get +3 to do it. You know, in the first unit, the first model, you have to, well, charge them to get the bonus. Fantastic. So, within 24 inches is a huge range. And with the smaller board sizes, if we put this this dang ship half a little bit up in my territory, right? Because a lot of the territories, some of them honestly go halfway up the board, and some of them are like a third, and some of them have some funky deployments. But you can put this up pretty far. And let's say we do that flip tide idea, where the first battle round is you run in charge, and the second battle round is you always fight first. And my eels move 14 inches. I could make them go 20 inches. And then add +3 to their charge, and they re-roll their charge rolls with their musician. This is spicy, and even better. The ritual spot for our prayers for the our lovely Soul Scryer here is, and I can just scroll up just to make this like, hey, look at us. The Soul Scryer gets +1 to that for being next to the ship, and +1 for doing it itself because it's a priest. Those aren't prayers. It's just an ability we do that everybody forgets because they normally go off on a 9 on 2 dice, and nobody even bothers rolling them. But now, on 2 dice, well, it might go off on a 10 even. But you'll get +2 because you'll be set up in the ship for +1. You're a priest, +2. And all of a sudden, that becomes a little bit more manageable. And then you look at, well, that's a ritual. Prayers are different. He still gets to pray a prayer. And we have a new universal prayer lore where we could heal stuff or hand out our 6-up ward save onto somebody. Or curse our opponents to do 6s to hit, do a mortal wound in addition to damage there. And we've got like 60 rapid fire shots from a unit of 20 Namarti Reavers that just went down in points. All of a sudden, we're getting this spicy combo here where we're going to get buffed in a different way with a slightly different build. But you know what? I want to order 20 Namarti Reavers now. And then you pair that with how the turtle aura, if an enemy unit is wholly within the turtle buff now, you get +1 to hit for your Namarti stuff, and you have an Eidolon of the Storm where you get a blanket +1 to wound, and then you throw maybe Lotan in the other ship half. I don't know. Again, these are weird times, but we're working with it. And then all of a sudden, my Namarti Reavers are shooting on what? 3s to hit, rerolling 1s, 3s to wound, 6s to hit, do a mortal wound in addition to damage. That's juicy. That is a combo I never thought I'd ever be able to utter. And then also I can run and charge or run and shoot my stuff. So let's say I put the, I can run my my Reavers up to range so they all get their shots, and I'm running all my my combat eels, right? They're going up, and then I'm giving them +3 to charge whatever's still standing after being bombarded from harpoons, from my turtle and the sharks, and the Reaver arrows. Okay, you just made Deepkin even more of an Alpha Strike army. I throw all this in the Wind Drop Battalion, so I make sure I can go first. And then I get a ritual off, and I get my prayer. This is sounding better and better. And all of a sudden, what looked like a really bad FAQ with these changes, because we still have the Predators of the Aether Sea on the ship. That's fine. It does damage. I mean, there was a time in a tournament game against Seraphon where I got the double turn and I did 2d3 mortal wounds and killed Skink support hero, and they were Fangs of Sotek, so then they couldn't overwatch me, which is great. But, this is, how do we take a negative here that's really a side grade and put it into a positive? Because now I can have a larger aura for all of my stuff that Lotan was never going to see a table before, but now, hey, it works. And we look at Volturnos here, who can't fit into the thing, but he has we're going to zoom in a little bit more. He's got this first among Achilleans thing, where you have an 18-inch aura of rerolling hit rolls of 1 for Achillean units. So, in my mind, I pair the turtle and the sharks with him. I've got Octo Daddy Lotan here with my Namarti. And I'm pretty sure I just had the DPS to kill a whole Gargan army straight up. So, we're loving life here. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming to class today for this FAQ special. Like and subscribe. We're a growing channel. And as I say at the end of every class dismissed.